I woke up to a miracle today. Triggers fade as I find my way. No judgment to lead astray. In this peaceful state I'll stay.
Welcome to this exploration. Today we are really going to undertake an internal audit of the mind.
We are, and we're using Lesson 331, There is no conflict, for my will is yours, as our guide.
And this lesson speaks so directly to that feeling of inner struggle, doesn't it?
It's that constant tug of war we all feel around decisions, but also just daily duties, even simple desires.
But the Course offers this really radical correction to that whole idea.
It states that inner conflict isn't a battle between two real forces at all. It's actually a symptom of spiritual sleep.
We're essentially dreaming of a division that doesn't exist.
Exactly. So our mission in this exploration is to try and identify who holds the actual authority in the mind.
I love this analogy we're going to use.
It's so helpful. If your mind were a corporation, we're asking a very simple question. Who is the CEO?
And who is just a very noisy, very convincing, but ultimately powerless consultant.
We're going to introduce those two figures today. First, the true CEO, which is our real will, the one that's joined with the will of love.
And second, that noisy consultant.
Yeah.
This represents the constant fearful thought pattern we so often mistake for real direction.
We'll be exploring how forgiveness is the actual mechanism for returning the CEO's keys. It's how you hand authority back to that quiet, unified will of love. And we would love to hear about your experiences with this. You can email us at acim@theworldharmonyproject.org.
You can also find us and follow us on TikTok. The handle is @TheWorldHarmonyProject. We are really excited to hear how this internal audit lands with you.
So we'll start, as always, Lesson 331, and then we'll begin the discussion on who is truly running the show.
Lesson 331. There is no conflict, for my will is yours. How foolish, Father, to believe your son could cause himself to suffer. Could he make a plan for his damnation and be left without a certain way to his release? You love me, Father. You could never leave me desolate to die within a world of pain and cruelty. How could I think that love has left itself? There is no will except the will of love. Fear is a dream and has no will that can conflict with yours. Conflict is sleep and peace awakening. Death is illusion, life, eternal truth. There is no opposition to your will. There is no conflict, for my will is yours. Forgiveness shows us that God's will is one and that we share it. Let us look upon the holy sites forgiveness shows today that we may find the peace of God. Amen.
That line right in the middle, fear is a dream and has no will that can conflict with yours.
Right. We are absolutely convinced that we are fighting something real.
Completely. We believe, we feel that fear has an agenda. It has a will, and that will is directly opposed to what love wants for us.
That's the entire architecture of our inner world, usually, this idea of a negotiation.
It's this battle.
And the Course just steps in and completely dismantles that.
It just pulls the whole structure down. It says, if you are feeling that conflict, if you feel that agonizing tug of war, you are simply watching a dream of opposition.
That's a huge shift in perception right there. Because if fear truly has no will, then the will of love doesn't have to fight it. It doesn't need to expend any energy.
Love just is. It doesn't have to enter the debate because there's no real opponent to debate with.
It's like arguing with a ghost. The act of arguing is what gives the ghost a sense of reality in your mind.
That's a perfect way to put it. Which leads us right into our corporate analogy, which can help ground this very abstract idea of will.
The mind is a business. Every company has a CEO.
It does. And this CEO is the will of love.
What are its characteristics?
Total non-reaction. That's the main thing. This part of your mind is calm. It is peaceful. It doesn't rush into meetings to explain or defend or predict a future outcome based on shifting data.
It's not constantly checking the news ticker of your anxieties.
It maintains a foundational, unwavering confidence. It operates purely from first principles. First, love cannot abandon itself. And second, nothing real can be threatened.
That's it. That's the entire operating manual.
The CEO doesn't need to send frantic memos or justify its goals. It deals only in truth, not the fluctuating daily metrics of, social approval or bank accounts.
Okay. Now let's talk about the other figure in this company,
The consultant.
the consultant. And in stark contrast, this figure is never silent.
Never. The consultant is obsessed with data, but it's a specific kind of data. Your calendar, your missed phone calls, the news headlines, the social media updates of people you compare yourself to.
All the external stuff.
All of it. And from this data, the consultant is always drafting reports, urgent reports.
But these reports aren't based on the company's true mission.
They're based on fear, scarcity, and time pressure. They have these dramatic titles like, urgent, you are 72 hours behind schedule.
Or critical error analysis. You said the wrong thing yesterday and must now overcompensate.
Yes, or my favorite.
Yeah.
Threat assessment.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't manage this situation perfectly, you will lose status, money, or love.
And it feels so real because we listen to the consultant. Its language is the language of the world we think is real.
Like deadlines, resources, reputation. It all sounds so practical. It sounds necessary for survival.
But this is where Lesson 331 forces us to look closer.
The consultant has no actual will.
Feels like it has a very strong one.
It has loudness, it has persuasiveness, it has a ton of historical data based on past fears, but it cannot create direction. It cannot decide what you are in truth. It is simply a very elaborate, very loud, and very convincing loop of old conclusions, all of them rooted in the original belief in separation. But it has zero real authority.
How does it seem to dominate our lives so often?
That brings us to the core error we make. Conflict, that feeling of being torn apart. It arises when we confuse that noise, that fearful old loop with actual direction.
We hand the consultant the CEO's office.
We start treating the consultant's reports, which are nothing but fear-based projections, as if they are the real directives for our life.
Let's make this really concrete. A simple, low-stakes example.
Let's say you've been looking forward to a quiet, restorative evening at home. You've blocked out the time. Your internal CEO has decreed. Rest.
Sounds lovely. But then the phone buzzes.
Of course, it's a text from a family member or a close friend. They're asking for help with a small but, time-consuming favor.
Picking something up across town, helping them with a tech issue, or needing to talk through an emotional problem right now.
Exactly. And this is the moment. This is where the consultant jumps over the desk and steals the CEO's chair.
Because the real immediate desire was simple. It was rest, rooted in self-honesty.
But the consultant instantly intervenes. It doesn't offer a simple choice. It lays out a schematic designed to make sure you feel wrong no matter what you choose.
What are the conflicting wills the consultant invents in that moment?
So the first will it presents is the voice of guilt. It says, if you say no, you are selfish. You're uncaring. You're prioritizing your own comfort over the needs of someone you love. If you say yes, you're a martyr. You are sacrificing your genuine need for peace, and you will secretly, or not so secretly, resent this person for taking your time.
So you'll feel put upon, drained, and victimized.
Right. The consultant has successfully turned a simple choice into a war.
And notice what the consultant is focused on.
It's all about outcomes based on fear. It's about maintaining a separated identity. Am I the martyr? Am I the selfish one?
And it's all about avoiding punishment, which in this case is guilt. The conflict itself becomes the proof that the consultant is running the show.
And that its plan, which is a plan for suffering, is the only plan available.
Okay, so that's the chaos. Now, let's contrast that with the CEO. How does the CEO, will we share with love, handle that same text message?
Well, first, it doesn't participate in the tallying of guilt points or the negotiation of future resentment. It's just not in that business.
So what business is it in?
It holds one foundational fact. You and your family member both live in the love of God right now. You share one fundamental purpose, and that purpose is peace.
From that single unified perspective, the question becomes entirely different.
It's not, how do I avoid getting in trouble?
Yeah.
Or how do I manage my image? What reflects that shared purpose, that shared love in this moment? And the answer that comes from that place can be very simple.
The answer might be a joyful, honest yes. You know what? I can help for an hour, and I'd love to.
Or it could be an equally honest and peaceful, no, I'm really needing to rest tonight, but I can help you first thing in the morning. The specific behavior, the yes, the no, the maybe, is actually secondary.
What matters is the root. Is the decision rooted in honesty and peace?
Or is it rooted in fear of punishment? That is the entire definition of aligning with the one will.
This is so critical because so many of us, I think, get stuck in this false dichotomy. We feel torn between what we call personal desire and what we think love demands of us.
Yes, and that spiral is so common. It leads directly to resentment, where we deny our own honest needs, and then we blame others, or even God, for the sacrifice we feel we were forced to make.
That whole internal structure, the idea that you have to choose between your need, which feels selfish, and God's will, which feels like self-denial, that entire building rests on one faulty assumption.
That there are two real wills inside you fighting for control.
And Lesson 331 is here to tell us.
That's just not true. That conflict you feel is only the consultant's voice shouting that these two wills are real and that you have to choose between them.
Let's be really clear about the difference between an honest desire and an ego demand. They can look similar from the outside.
They can. An honest desire, an expression of the real will, is a wish to experience life, to create something, to rest, to be kind, to show up with a sense of peace, to learn. These things are naturally expansive. They aren't competitive.
The will we share with love doesn't crush our genuine, honest joy.
It's the source of it. True will and honest desire are actually unified. They're the same thing.
So when we're doing our internal audit, the key diagnostic question becomes,
which voice is rooted in fear or in guilt? That is always, 100% of the time, the consultant.
and which wish comes from a place of honesty or a sense of peace or shared well-being?
That is your real will. That is the CEO's actual directive.
And the consultant, it's not really interested in well-being at all.
It's interested in conclusions, in stories.
Yeah.
It wants every single interaction to prove a specific, separated story about you.
This separated, story-driven identity. The victim, the martyr, the unappreciated hero. This is what the lesson is pointing to with that phrase.
A plan for damnation. If you believe your identity is separate from love, then you must constantly fight to defend your little patch of land, to secure your resources, to protect your fragile story from everyone else's.
And the real CEO, it just operates outside of all those roles.
It recognizes the fundamental truth. We share one life. We share one will.
So it doesn't bother rushing into the conference room to argue with the consultant's latest fear report.
It doesn't need to. It simply remains what it is, the source of unified direction and peace. And that peace is completely untouchable by any fear-based story the consultant can dream up.
Which brings us right to that beautiful line in the lesson.
Conflict is sleep, and peace awakening.
When we are taking the consultant's loud, frantic reports as truth, we are literally dreaming of a split mind.
Every single choice, no matter how small, requires us to referee a battle between two powers that we believe are equally real.
That feeling of anxiety that just hums in the background of our decisions, that is the symptom.
It's the sign that we have momentarily forgotten where the real authority in our mind lies. When we're sleeping, the consultant's loud, persuasive voice sounds like the only voice in the room.
So what is awakening then? The lesson says peace is awakening.
And awakening, according to the Course, it's ordinary. It's subtle. It's continuous.
It's a moment you just notice.
It's just the moment you notice, I'm listening to the consultant again, and you find you're willing to just set that fearful report down.
You don't have to perfectly refute it or fix every single thought. So how does the CEO, the will of love, see that same news story?
It doesn't reason that way at all. It does not deny that the suffering in the dream looks painful. But it remembers a deeper truth.
Which is?
What love created cannot be ultimately harmed. Now, this is not an excuse to look away from pain. It's not spiritual bypassing.
It's a reminder that your mind is not powerless.
And that the only true power we possess is the power of our joined will.
So action that comes from the one will is defined by its purpose, not by a frantic reaction to fear.
You might feel called to pray, or to donate, or to share information constructively.
Or maybe the most helpful action is to put the phone down and use your peace to forgive your own hatred or your own fear or your numbness about the situation.
Yes, the specific action is less important than the purpose underneath it. Are you taking direction from the voice of fear or from the quiet voice of shared purpose? That alignment is the action.
Let's bring it back to a lower stakes but still paralyzing example.
Okay.
The internal conflict around a creative desire. So many people feel this.
Yes, you feel a simple, honest wish to start a new project, to paint, to write, to learn an instrument, maybe launch a small side business.
And the wish itself is pure. It's just an expression of expansion and joy.
But almost immediately, the consultant steps in. It is determined to hijack that simple desire and turn it into a complex test of your ego's status.
And it drafts its report.
Instantly. The report says, "You're too old to start this now. You lack the necessary talent. People are going to judge you. You will probably fail, and that failure will confirm that you are, in fact, a fraud."
This sets up the conflict perfectly. It's a trap.
It's a twofold trap, usually. First, if you follow the desire, the consultant says you're being selfish.
Yeah.
You should be spending your time on more productive, profitable, serious work.
And second, if you ignore the desire, the consultant calls you a coward. You're resentful. You believe you've let fear win again. What is the CEO's view on your desire to learn the guitar?
The CEO's view is incredibly simple. It just holds the desire in the light of the one will, and it asks one question.
What's the question?
Is this an honest expression of the love and creativity we share?
And if the answer is yes.
Then there's no conflict here. Go play.
And if the answer is actually no, if it's really rooted in trying to prove something.
Then we can let it go without any guilt. The focus shifts entirely. It moves to, does this reflect the peace and joy that I actually want?
The moment we ask that question, we are already turning the ship.
You're already turning toward the real authority in your mind. You're engaging the CEO instead of just listening to the noisy consultant.
You're admitting that the will you share with love isn't some outside intruder demanding sacrifice.
But that it's what you truly want underneath all the layers of fear.
This is what it really means to say, my will is yours. It's not submission.
It's a statement of identity. It's a statement of unity. You can make this internal audit a very structured, practical exercise. The next time you feel that agonizing pull of conflict, just stop for a second and start by naming the fearful story that the consultant is telling you.
You just acknowledge it. I am telling myself a story that I have two masters, and they're both real.
Then you conduct the audit using those two diagnostics we talked about.
Which voice is fueled by comparison, by scarcity, by pressure, or by guilt?
That's the consultant every time. Second,
Which voice is moving toward honesty, toward shared well-being, toward true rest, or toward clarity?
and that is the CEO.
The difference in the delivery, the tone, is also profound.
It's night and day. The consultant always speaks with pressure. There's an urgency, a bargaining. It's always warning of some future catastrophe.
And the CEO
Speaks with clarity, stability. There's a deep lack of neediness in that voice. When you truly ask, if my will is love's, what do we want here? The answer is usually very simple, very honest, and it contains no threat.
This is where we really integrate that idea of forgiveness as returning the keys.
Exactly. You just take one small step that reflects the answer. Maybe he is telling someone the truth, but without any attack.
Or maybe it's just allowing yourself to rest without apologizing for your need to do so.
Or spending 2 hours on that creative project without once thinking about who will approve of it.
But the consultant doesn't just go quiet, does it? It often comes back right after the choice is made.
It almost always does. It comes back with a commentary. It whispers, "You messed that up. You handled that imperfectly. You should feel bad." Or, "See, this won't work in the long run."
And this is the moment for direct forgiveness.
This is it. You are not forgiving the other person or the situation. You are forgiving the fearful commentary in your own mind.
So you say internally.
I forgive myself for believing that fear still has real authority over my mind. I forgive myself for believing that my choice, which came from a place of honesty, could somehow separate me from love.
This is the practice. This is how we live the lesson's closing line.
Forgiveness shows us that God's will is one and that we share it. Every single time we forgive that fearful commentary, we're basically shredding the consultant's final desperate report.
We are refusing to let guilt define the outcome of a decision that was rooted in peace.
And if the consultant is the source of that plan for damnation we read about in the prayer,
Then forgiveness is the realization that the plan was never ratified, it was never signed by the CEO.
it was always just a draft report submitted by an unauthorized and actually powerless entity.
And that realization, that is the ultimate good news of Lesson 331.
The consultant, the ego pattern, it never actually becomes the CEO. It just talks a big game as if it did.
The will of love remains the only will, untouched by every fearful story, untouched by every loud report of scarcity and guilt.
Our entire spiritual practice then just becomes about noticing when we have, out of sheer habit, temporarily handed the consultant the keys to the corner office.
And then just quietly, without any drama, returning the keys to the CEO.
And we do that through forgiveness, through remembering that no fearful, separate plan can ever change what love created us to be. We accept that profound truth. There's only one will, and we share it.
This exploration has really taken us deep into that distinction between the noise of fear and the absolute clarity of will.
And that conflict is just a symptom. It's a notification on your dashboard saying you started listening to the unauthorized consultant again. It's not proof that there are two real powers fighting inside you.
The internal audit we discussed, it's a practical tool to notice who we are allowing to sit in that CEO chair in any given moment.
And to remember that the will of love doesn't argue, it doesn't threaten, it doesn't bargain. It simply holds the truth that we are one with it, and that we cannot leave what love created us to be.
So forgiveness is the active practice of handing that office back.
Each time we refuse to define ourselves, or anyone else, by a story of separation or guilt, we are making a powerful statement.
I will not base my life on a plan for suffering. I share one will with love, and I choose to remember that clarity right now.
We invite you over the next few days to track this. Try to conduct your own internal audit.
Just notice one moment when you treated the voice of fear as the CEO.
And one moment when you consciously turn toward the shared will. And do this with no judgment at all. Simply notice the dramatic difference in how those two internal states feel.
We would love to hear your reflections on Lesson 331. You can email us at acim@theworldharmonyproject.org.
And you can also find us on TikTok at the World Harmony Project and share your experience there. We are so grateful to be walking this path with you.
We will be back with the next lesson in this journey.
And may this idea stay close in your mind. The conflict you feel is merely a loud dream. And the answer, in truth, is that your real will has never, ever left the will of love.